கேக்குது. சரி.
ஓகே. சரி, சரி.
A warm welcome to everyone for day 7 of student induction program. Now I invite Dr. Maria Priscilla, Head, Department of Computer Science, to deliver the welcome address. Madam, please.
Good morning to one and all present here. With a new day comes new strength and new thoughts. A very good morning to everyone gathered here. I am deeply honored and pleasured in delivering the welcome address. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. First and foremost, I extend my warm welcome to Ms. Sheetal Soni, Country Channel Manager, IBM Software Group, India, for joining us amidst of her busy schedule. We welcome you, ma'am. It's a glad welcome we bring to Mr. Dwaraknath Cheriyu, Cloud Rain Technologies, Chennai. Welcome you, sir. This morning, filled with desires, hopes, and dreams we all share. I heartily welcome our beloved principal, Dr. V.L. Shivakumar, sir. Sir, your actions inspire us to dream more, learn more, and do more. I extend a warm welcome to all our deans, heads, and all other faculty members. Last but not the least, the young generation, in whose hands the world belongs, with whom this event will lose its fragrance. I heartily welcome you all for this induction program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce today's session speaker, Madam Sheetal Soni, Country Channel Manager, Career Education, IBM Software Group, India. She has more than 15 years of experience in career education. She provides training on cloud, analytics, mobile, social, and security skills for students and faculty in academia. She has performed various roles from trainer to product manager. She will deliver the session on emerging trends in information technology. Now, I hand over the session to Madam Sheetal Soni. Madam, please, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much and good morning to all. I just want to know how many students have joined this session?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
more than 300 students are listening, ma'am,
Okay, and these are all
in
students
YouTube Live.
All right, and is this getting recorded on YouTube?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can we stop the YouTube recording? You can do the recording here, but we'll have to stop the YouTube recording.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
All right, okay. So, and I believe these are all first year students. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay. So a very warm welcome to all of you, all the respected professors and deans and academicians from Ramakrishna, and of course, my dear friends and students. And welcome to the IBM family. Some of you would have taken a specialization program with us, and some of you would have opted for various other degree programs at Ramakrishna. So today's orientation session is mainly to make each other know of what is happening around us in IT, not in IT per se considering computers, but IT considering an overall perspective. For example, today when you do an online shopping through Flipkart, that is IT. When you do an online ticket booking of a train or a flight, that is IT. When you, yeah.
Ma'am, will you please on your video, ma'am?
Yeah, I can. Just give me a second.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm in a low bandwidth, so if I on the video, it'll start cracking. That is the reason I haven't switched it on. Just give me a minute, let me try.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so each one of us is using IT in various forms, whether we do a bank transaction online, or we go and buy online shopping, or we do online ticket booking, or we even for that matter are doing YouTube video or anything for that matter. So moment you use anything that is digital, it is automatically IT, and all of us are surrounded with IT today in a big way. So the session is mainly to understand each one of us of how we are using in our daily life IT and how is it going to impact in our careers going forward. So quickly to give you an introduction, so we are a part of the IBM team, and we work very closely with students to give them the latest skills in industry so that you have better career options. Remember, I am not saying better job, I am saying better career. So we are not here to aim you to get a good first job, but we are here to aim you to get a better and a good career for that matter. So what do we do with students at Ramakrishna? Some of you would have taken that specialization, is that we have included certain content from our side in your syllabus, which is a part of your curriculum. And at the end of your 3 years degree, you will get a specialization certificate from us. Now, let's take a simple example. Each one of us today is having a mobile phone, and through our mobile phones, each one of us is using in some way or the other some applications which are for online shopping, which are for online cab booking, which are for online ticket booking, playing games, using online library, certain senior citizens using that to order online medicines, and so on and so forth. So, the question that should stare at each one of us is that why is mobile apps becoming so popular? I am not sure if we've ever thought that. So the reason mobile apps is becoming so popular is because it derives data of an individual. We are able to get each one's data. For example, when I do online shopping, I am entering my name, my address, my credit card details, what is it that I want to buy. If I'm buying a fabric, I'm entering whether it is small, large, XL, XXL, everything. All my personal data is what I'm entering on the platform, which gives the other business a lot of flexibility because they're able to know me as a customer, and they will present to me things basis my choice and have me hooked on to their platform. So, moment you talk of digital, it is data. Moment you talk of data, it comes through mobile. Moment you talk of data getting generated, it needs to get stored. When you store data, it is called cloud. And moment you store data, you have to analyze that data. And the moment you start analyzing that data, that becomes analytics. And therefore, my friends, today in the industry, it is extremely important to have known some specialization, basically because to get good careers. So if you are thinking that if I do specialization, I will get a job in IT only, no, that's not the case. Today, when you open a bank account, they tell you to download a mobile app. Today, when you actually want to see news, there every news channel has got a mobile app. Today, when you want to do online shopping, there is a mobile app. If you want to do train booking, there is a mobile app. If you want to do some kind of activity, there is a mobile app. So what are we saying? Whether it's banking, whether it's insurance, whether it is retail, whether it is transport, Ola, Uber, whether it is media, which is news channels, whether it is healthcare, hospitals, whether it is government organizations like Arogya Sedu app or Bheem UPI app, all these apps are utilized for generating data. And moment you generate data through a mobile app, automatically you need to store data. Moment you store data, you need to analyze data. Ma'am, you need to go to ahead, slides ahead. Next slides, please. Yeah, I want you to go to next slides, ma'am.
One second, ma'am. One second.
Yeah, please scroll down. Please scroll down. Further down, ma'am.
Yes,
Further
ma'am.
down.
Yes.
No, please go down. I would like you to go to the next slide where I'm talking specialization is a must. Next slide. Further down. Yeah, stop here. So, so like so like I said that you generate data through mobile device, you store data through cloud, you secure data through cybersecurity, and you recycle intelligence in that data, which is called as analytics. And each one of us is using technology. On the left hand side, I'm trying to showcase whether it is transport, whether it is retail, whether it is media, whether it is your big basket, whether it is Amazon, whether it is Flipkart, whether it is healthcare, whether any domain you see, they are using IT. Go to the previous slide, ma'am, the T-shaped skills. If you look at this alphabet T, previous slide, the alphabet T indicates two lines. One is a vertical line and one is a horizontal line. The vertical line indicates that you are doing your core degree, whether it's BTech, whether it's BCom, whether it's MBA, whether it's PBA, whether it's BCA, whether it is any core degree. And the horizontal of the T indicates that you need to do a specialization. Then only you are called a T-shaped graduate. And today in the industry, people don't want I-shaped graduates, people want T-shaped graduates. That is degree plus specialization. Yeah, the next slide, ma'am. Career education program recruiters. Now, if you look at this slide, what is it that you read from this slide? The slide is not just names of recruiters, but if you see the kind of recruiters that are there, we are talking of Idea and Airtel, which is telecom. We are talking of Axis Bank, which is banking. We are talking of SBI Life Insurance, which is insurance. We are talking about Tech Mahindra, which is IT. We are talking about EY and KPMG, which is consultancy. We can easily add over here Amazon and Flipkart. So what are we saying? Today, if you as a student has done a BCA with specialization in analytics, then you are not restricted to get your job only in Infosys or TCS, but you could get into a bank or even an insurance company or even a healthcare or even a transport. So one specialization opens 100 doors of opportunities for hiring because every business today is using technology and every business is using today digital data. And hence we say that specialization is a must. There is no dearth of job openings and careers if you do a specialization. People will plonk onto you to hire the real technology that is used in the market. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, next slide, please, ma'am. So if you look at the program that we're doing at Ramakrishna, further down, ma'am, please. So at Ramakrishna, one more slide down, ma'am. Yeah. So we have set up a lab at Ramakrishna, which is called as IBM Software Lab for Emerging Technologies. And we do a program called as BSc in Computer Science with specialization in artificial intelligence. Now, what does this mean? This lab that has got set up has got all the softwares from IBM where students can get access. And every semester has got one course included in the syllabus, starting from semester 1 to semester 6. And students have to undergo this training with us. And at the end of sixth semester, if you look at the slide, which is rules of the game, the degree is issued by the university, while we, along with the institute, will give a co-branded certificate to the students. And every semester, an IBM person, certified trainer, will be there at the campus to conduct the training. However, all exams will be conducted as per UGC norms, AICT norm, and students will actually get benefited with a lot of live use cases to complete the course. Besides that, there are a lot of other benefits like hackathons, a lot of other benefits like seminars that we do so that you become a confident professional when you walk out of the institution. Yes, ma'am. Next slide. Yeah, so yeah, we can skip this slide, program structure. We can just skip this slide. Okay, so I just want to very briefly, I have tried to outline and make you understand that today in the industry, if you don't do a specialization, it's not that you don't have demand, but you will be last in the race because the technology is evolving so fast and it's such a high speed and it's getting adopted by every domain. And that's why we say to most of the students that do at least one specialization with your core degree so that you are recruitable and employable in the market. Okay, and now students who complete the course with us, they get this kind of a joint certificate which has the IBM logo as well as the institute name, saying that you have specialized. Let's say you have done artificial intelligence. What is the kind of job you could look at? You could become a data engineer, you could become an artificial intelligence analyst, you could become a Python programmer, you could become a Python developer. So many roles that you will get at the end of doing a program in artificial intelligence with IBM. So I just want to take a pause of 2 minutes here and see if there are questions and answer them. Yes, ma'am. Are there any questions?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, you continue,
Is,
ma'am. Ac-
no. Are there any questions? If anyone wants, if you want to add anything here on any particular point.
Ma'am, 1 second, ma'am. 1 second, ma'am. Ma'am, ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
actually, chat box is restricted for students, ma'am. Just we will enable that, ma'am, so that students may ask questions, ma'am. Ma'am, may
Sure.
interact with you, ma'am. 1 second, ma'am.
Sure.
1 second. Dear students, if you have any queries, you can interact. You can post your questions in the chat box. Now the chat box is enabled. Students, if you have any doubt, you can post your queries in the chat box. Question முடிச்சுப்பா. இந்த question வேண்டாம்ன்றீங்களா? Ma'am, please, you can continue, ma'am.
No, so that's it that I want to talk about, because I think the population is 300 students and I have no idea how many is the variety of what kind of students are participating. So I just want to pause here, and if you have anything that I should cover up, you please let me know. I can do that.
How many students? 124. Ma'am, 124 students are listening to your talk, ma'am.
Correct. So I have talked about specialization. Is there
Yes, ma'am.
anything else that you want me to cover? Because orientation, mainly I wanted to talk on specialization. Out of this 124, how many students have opted for specialization in AI?
It will be more than 40 students, ma'am.
All right. And others have opted for normal plain degree.
Yes, ma'am. They
Right.
have some other specialization, ma'am.
Right, right. So this is what it is, and I mean that's it from my side. I am not sure if there's anything else that you want me to cover.
One second, ma'am. Ma'am, you have covered the certification process, ma'am.
Yes.
One second,
We've
ma'am.
talked about all the points. We've talked about the course structure, why specialization, what
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
joint certificate they get at the end of the day, and how they can look at various career options in various domains and not just restrict themselves to IT. So these are the four highlights which we can talk in orientation. And of course, we can talk more at length to those students who opted for specialization in a separate session where we talk of what all more they will get. Because this is a mixed crowd, we should not, have one program overriding the other. So we've just left it extremely, extremely plain and general.
Ma'am, one second, ma'am. Students have posted some questions, ma'am.
Yeah.
Explain IBM network, ma'am.
Explain
Explain
IBM
IBM
network.
network.
What do you mean IBM network?
IBM. And how can I become a data engineer, ma'am?
So how can you become a data engineer is by doing a specialization in artificial intelligence at IBM and Ramakrishna, because the course covers content on predictive modeling, artificial intelligence analyst, and business intelligence. And that's the entry profile for doing a data engineer. Yeah, so that's the answer to that question. However, I can't see these questions.
It is in YouTube live, ma'am, not in Meet, ma'am.
Okay.
And
Okay.
ma'am, can you summarize the skill sets needed to be a IBM professional, ma'am?
No, it's not called an IBM professional. A student needs to become a professional. And for doing a professional, getting a professional, you need to do a specialization, or like I've already talked on cloud or mobile or a data scientist or artificial intelligence, right? And what are the options of getting hired in the industry? They are much faster because you have already picked up one track and running towards that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure that your knowledge and experience will definitely useful to the students, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
100%, and I look forward to meet the students in person once
Yes,
things
ma'am.
get normal.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
And wish you all the best to everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Dear students, now the next session will continue.
Good morning to everyone present here. We would like to greet everyone a wonderful Thursday morning. Now we would like to welcome you, sir, to our student induction program for 35th batch. It is privilege to introduce today's chief guest, Mr. Dwagranath Chayer. He is a director at Cloud Rain Technologies. He has worked as a business manager at Orange Cap Technologies and also project manager at Netlink Technologies. He has more than 20 years of experience. He has worked on cloud-based technologies and enterprise software, expert on service delivery, and experienced in setting up and managing project management office, and experienced in setting up delivery center from scratch, and also experienced in people management, project management, pre-sales requirements, analysis, and data modeling. He has certified G Suite development specialist and also certified in Java developer. Now I request our honorable chief guest to take over the session. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. A warm welcome to everyone. Good morning and congratulations on starting your degree program. And I hope you're going to have a good time here. So, ma'am has given a brief introduction about me. So, I just like to add a couple of words here. Cloud Technologies is the company that me and my partner has founded about 8 years back, and we predominantly work with Google. So we are Google partners, and we have been working with Google on the education front for the last 8 to 9 years. And our association with the Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science is about 3 years old. So this is the third year that is running, and we offer something called as BCA Cloud and Mobile, wherein some specialized courses are introduced and subjects are being introduced as part of your degree. And about 8 subjects are given to the students to study and then take some certification. Some of these subjects have got certifications which are given by Google directly, and once you pass those certifications, you would be called as a specialist on that particular subject. So that is something about the course that we are introducing. But what I'm going to talk about today is something very generic, something about what kind of decisions you need to take on your career path. You are just stepping into your degree program, which would mean that you're starting a journey, and it would culminate into an area where you would have to look at what are the job opportunities that are there and what kind of domain you would like to enter into. The computer applications or computer science or IT, whatever area of expertise that you're looking for, is a very vast field. So there are a lot of things that keep coming out, and IT or computer science or computer applications, these are areas where uh, things keep changing at a very rapid pace. Today you would be thinking that, yeah, I am studying this, but tomorrow you might suddenly see that whatever you're studying has moved on and something new has come up. So there'll be a lot of confusion like this on what kind of uh, opportunities people are going to get, right? So this is one area that I would always advise people to keep updating themselves at every opportunity, because this is one field where you cannot say, okay, I have learned this. You cannot say that, okay, I have completed, I'm a master of one programming language, or I'm a master of one domain, so I'm settled for life. This is one place where you can never say that, because everything keeps changing. The only thing constant over here is change. From the time I started working in the IT segment, which is about almost 22 years ago when I started, things were very different. Today, things are very different. And every day I see new changes coming up. Every day you see new technologies coming up. Every day we see a lot of changes that are happening in the field. So this is a challenging field for people to be in. Challenging in the sense, you have to keep updating yourself, and that is what is the expectation that any employer would have whenever you go for work. Even if you whether you're going for work or you start your own company, you want to be on your own, the one thing that you would always need to remember is you have to keep updating your skills on a regular basis. So this is something that as a computer professional, you will always have to keep in mind. Please remember that this is the one thing that will never go to change. That is, you have to keep updating yourselves with with the latest technologies, with things that keep coming up. But of course, you have a very wide range of choices that are there. So it all depends. It's not that you have to learn everything under the sun, which is something that is going to be very difficult. You will not be able to learn everything under the sun. So the most important thing is you would need to focus on your area of interest and then try to master that area of interest and keep updating yourself with a lot of the new emergent technologies that come up in your area of expertise. So as earlier ma'am Sheetal ma'am was also talking about specialization, right? So in IT there is something very unique. You have there are two types of specializations that you can get. One type of specialization is what you called as a domain specialization, or on a domain. Like for example, she was talking about artificial intelligence or data mining or something like that. So that's a very specialized area on a particular domain. So you can become an expert on a particular domain. So the domain can be anything, right? It can be artificial intelligence, it can be finance, it can be any other thing that that is of interest for you. The other area of specialization is technical specialization, which is you pick one area technically. For example, you can say, I want to become a PHP expert, or I want to become a Python expert, I want to become a JavaScript expert, for example. So it can be a technology stack that you pick, and then on the particular domain that you are working on, you become a technology expert as well. Or some people say, I want to learn almost as many technologies as I can because I don't know what opportunity will come everywhere. Then you can try to specialize yourself on multiple technology stacks. For example, you could be a Java specialist, you could be a Python specialist, as well as be a JavaScript specialist, and then you can work on any of these technologies that wherein your skills will be required. So this is a very vast area, and you have to hone in on any one particular type of domain, and then you will have to also try to learn at least a couple of these technology stacks so that you will be relevant over here. So today I'm going to talk about opportunities on server side JavaScript, so which is something very unique. People have learned about JavaScript, they will understand that JavaScript has always been has been talked about as a client side technology. So I'll explain to you what is this client side as well as what is server side, but I'm going to focus more on the server side JavaScript, which is something unique that came up some, and there are a lot of opportunities, advantages of learning this particular technology skill. So this is slightly technical talk that I'm going to give about, but you can also look at it as an opportunity to understand one technology stack and then see if it's of interest for you. So let me just present my screen. Okay, so we are going to talk about opportunities on server-side JavaScript, as I told you. So before we go on to this, what we need to understand is what is server-side and what is side as a technology. So that is what I'm going to give a little bit brief about. So when you look at client-side JavaScript, this is the main reason why JavaScript was invented in the first place, or JavaScript was developed in the first place as a client-side technology. It is JavaScript is nothing but code that is running on the browser, and it is known as client-side code, and is primarily concerned with improving the appearance and behavior of the web page that is rendered on your browser. So it could mean any of these 4 or 5 things that you're seeing over here, right? So it could be selecting and styling the UI, which is basically HTML components that are there, or also referred to as the DOM, the document object model. It will also has a lot to do with creating layouts. It has got a lot to do with navigation of the pages. It's got a lot to do with form validation. So form validation is something that is very, very important. Uh, Forms are literally used everywhere for collecting data as well as for showing data. And then we have server-side JavaScript. Now, server-side JavaScript is something that has come up much later. This was a concept that was not available when JavaScript was first, developed. And this thing, this new thing that you're hearing, the server-side website programming, it involves choosing content which is returned to the browser in response to requests, which means that there is a end user request that is coming from your browser. It hits the server side, and then this server side JavaScript starts working rather than the opposite, which happens when your client side JavaScript is working. The client side JavaScript, the server giving some is sending the information, and that is residing on the browser. And instead of going back to the server every time a user wants some change to happen on the browser, everything happens on the client side. So that was what was the earlier slide, which said it was a client side JavaScript. But this is something that is called as a server side JavaScript, which means everything happens on the server side. And these are things that happens like whenever you're validating submitted data and requests, or you use databases to store, and you can work on all of these things on the server side without going back to the client side. So these are two technologies that work side by side, that is at the same time. So client side JavaScript and server side JavaScript is the technology that has come up, which helps the developers immensely, simply because it can use a single language to develop your entire technology stack or your entire project without having to switch between two different programming languages. So earlier server side programming would mean that you will be writing your server side logic using another programming language, and the client side use JavaScript, right? So you'll have to, people were working on two different technologies. So server side programming technologies include things like Python, JSP, .NET, and so on and so forth. So there are so many other technologies that are there. PHP is another one which is very popular. So those are the technologies that people were working on. The advantage was that you needed to have two different sets of people working on these things. The technology used to be very different, so people had to learn two different technologies to write server side code, and then a different set of people to write the client side code. So there used to be a confusion while developing, and then you had a large team which was trying to do these and so on and so forth. So this is the reason why the server side JavaScript was conceived and then developed. So people were struggling, because servers struggle to handle high volume concurrent connections. Code was either blocked. This is highly technical. The reason why these things are come up is a high technical reason that I'm giving. That is the architecture of the server side programs, like for example PHP or Python or whatever that we are talking about. They have different architectures. What was developed for the client side technology, right? So you had multiple stacks, you had multiple types of code that people need to write, you had to interact with different types of databases and so on and so forth. So these are all the issues that hampered the ability of businesses to build good products or products that can be changed very quickly. So as I told you, in today's world, the business scenario is such that people want, if they want to change something, they want to do it very quickly. So the earlier technologies, used to make it very, very difficult for people to do that. Making changes on the fly or making changes very, very quickly used to be very difficult. So keeping this in mind, somebody came up with server-side JavaScript, and then it really became a big hit. And there are a lot of big technology companies that are using this technology now. So the client side and the server side are running on the same technology, which is JavaScript. So client-side code is written using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the three things that is now constant when you talk about client-side programming. Nothing much has changed except that the HTML has changed a lot, right from specification 3 onwards. Now we have come to specification. Similarly, CSS has also improved a lot, and JavaScript is also now in the 2020 version. there's a lot of change that has happened in these specifications, and it is now pretty much an extremely mature technology that is going on. And if you look at client side, technically there are some issues. Like for example, when you write something on JavaScript for the client side, there is a lot of limitations that are there, which means you cannot access the underlying operating system. So here, whenever you're writing client side code, you will be restricted to having access to the browser DOM. You will not have access to most of the underlying operating system, which is the client side operating system that I'm talking about. So to overcome these kind of situations and these kind of issues also, there are a lot of APIs that have come out, and a lot of new technology is making it easier for programmers, to get more and more access and to get more and more APIs that are coming up for developing a technology stack or developing a project that is going to give the user an extremely good So when somebody is going to use the same programming language for client side as well as for server side, a lot of time is going to get saved, because you're not learning two different technology stacks. You're not managing huge project size with lot of developers and combining the whole thing, and all these nightmares can be done away with. You can start developing very sophisticated websites or sophisticated applications using a small set of developers, because the language that you're using is going to be the same. So server-side code can be written of the different programming languages, right? So you can use PHP, you can use Python, you can use so many of the other things that you're seeing over here. But we are talking predominantly about one server-side technology, which is called as Node.js. So I'm just introducing this new technology called Node.js over here, which was developed using the same JavaScript engine that Google has introduced, which runs on pretty much all the browsers nowadays. So if you look at the browser is the one that interprets JavaScript, and there's an engine called the V8 engine that runs inside the browser, and that is what actually parses your JavaScript as and when it encounters a JavaScript code in your application. So that is about the client side. The same V8 engine has now been bought out and put into the server side, so it runs as a separate environment. And this environment is what is called as a Node.js. So there is an environment that runs in whichever environment that you're using. For example, your server could be running on Windows, it could be running on Unix, or it could be running on Mac. Whichever is the server side environment that your code is running on, so Node will be running on that. So it is an engine that can parse JavaScript even for the server side. So all these days, such engine. So somewhere in 2011, this thing came up, and it took a few years to mature, and now it is one of the most sought after technologies that are there. So if at all you're interested in doing this, so this is a very interesting technology, and this is also one of the subjects that are there as part of your BCA. So this is one subject that you will be taught. So how are coders developing in today's world? So most of the front-end developers use a lot of frameworks that are there. So you would have heard of some frameworks like React.js, Angular, Bootstrap. All of these are frameworks that are used for front-end development. And server-side frameworks are Django. Now you might see that I have not put Node.js as a framework over here, because Node.js is not a framework; it's an environment. It is not. It does not give you. It is not a set of code that you can use for developing applications. So Node.js, please don't confuse Node.js as a framework. It is not a framework, but rather it is a environment that runs any framework. So you can use different frameworks in your Node.js also, as long as it is available as a node package. So Django is a framework that runs on the server side, which uses Python as its development language. So on Node.js, what are the packages you can use? You can use any of the packages that are given by the Node.js framework. They're called as modules. So in Node, you will have a lot of modules that are available. So where do you get these modules? So Node has got something like Node Package Manager, which allows you to go and search for any of the package that you wish to use. It's just like any other API that is there. So there's a lot of documentation for this. For example, if you want to run a server on Node, like an HTTP server on Node, you have a package called Express that allows you to just spin a HTTP server with just 2 or 3 lines of code. It takes away all the complexity of coding, and then it allows you to quickly come up with just with 3 lines of code you can start the HTTP. So it's as simple as that. So all the complexity of your code is hidden away under packages or modules, as they are known in Node. Right. Similarly, Django would do something like that. They would give you, it's a package, or it's a framework that allows you to develop using Python as the language. But then it takes away the complexity of doing a lot of. If you have to write an HTTP server for yourself, you would probably have to write 10,000 lines of code. But whereas here you're spinning up a server with just 3 lines of code. Kind of complexity that frameworks will allow you to overcome. Right, so you have a lot of frameworks in the front end, you have a lot of frameworks in the back end. So you use these frameworks, it reduces your complexity. So that's all you need to understand. So this is where programming has changed a lot in the past few years. More and more frameworks are coming up, and these frameworks are developed a large consortium of people. For example, React is something that has been developed by Facebook. Angular, I think, is supported by Google. Bootstrap is some third party, but it extremely is extremely popular for HTML kind of development. A lot of pseudocode that's available for you to use. So your life as a programmer is going to change, or it's going to become very easy if you try to understand these frameworks, figure out what are the different frameworks that are available, and then try to use those frameworks as you go forward. So you might be thinking, why am I talking to first year students about all these things? The reason why I'm talking to you about this is you might not understand half of what I'm telling over here. The reason why I'm talking to you about this is the time where you need to spend some time on understanding what these things are, right? So nobody is expecting you to know all day, but you need to spend some time understanding what this jargon is all about. So if somebody says what is client-side JavaScript, you should be able to know what it is. You should have a good understanding of what is client-side. Similarly, what is server-side JavaScript, you should be able to understand that. So I'm just trying to trigger something in your mind over here so that you go back and try to research on your own about what are these technologies. Likewise, you might have so many other technologies that are there. So just go back whenever in your free time and then try to figure out what these things are. It is not that you need to understand exactly how these frameworks work or go very technically deep into these technologies. That is not what I'm trying to tell here. What I'm trying to tell you is just try to understand what a framework is. Try to understand what do you mean by this jargon, and it will give you a heads up over a lot of other people as to how the technology world is working and how they are how they are using all of these things in their day-to-day work. So that is what is going to trigger something in your mind, and I think it will give you a head start when you are actually learning something in your curriculum. So what is Node.js? As I told you, Node.js is not a it is a environment that runs either on the server side or on the client side. So when it's Node.js, it is going to run only on the server side. So it's an engine that has been taken out of the browser and it has been packaged into a depending on which environment you're using, it will run as that package. For example, you'll have a different package for Linux, you'll have a different package for Mac OS, you'll have a different package for Windows. But underlying engine is the same. So it will do the same work that it does on Windows or Mac or Linux or whichever operating system you're using, it doesn't matter. It will interpret it in the same way. And the beauty is this V8 engine is also running on the browser. So again, on the browser, if there's a client-side JavaScript that is running, it will interpret it in exactly the same way. So your technology or the JavaScript that you're writing is not going to change. So the JavaScript, when it is going to get interpreted by the browser in the same engine. V8 engine is the one that is going to interpret that. And this was basically created to provide developers with the power so that you can develop your technology using the same development, which is JavaScript. right? So you don't have to learn two different languages. So the advantage of going with Node.js is you can write very powerful applications which run on both the server side as well as on the client side using the same technology stack. So your learning curve is going to come down drastically. So what can you do with server side? What can you do on the side? The server side programming is very useful because it allows you to efficiently develop or deliver information tailored for individual users. So if you look at a lot of technology companies or even e-commerce companies, there are a lot of companies which are using this kind of technology. For example, Amazon uses this, Flipkart uses this. So most of the large size companies use server side programming to construct search results for products. The advantage of doing this is you don't have to keep changing the page every time a small information on the page is changed. So things like that are very, very easy to do on this kind of technologies. The entire page will never change. Only a portion of the page will dynamically change. So if you go to yeah, I'm sure all of you would have used Amazon, all of you would have used Flipkart or things like that, where you're buying a lot of stuff. If you notice the page that they have either on the mobile or on the laptop or desktop when you use this on a browser, you would find that the entire page will never change when you search for something, right? So some information in between is changing. Only that information will suddenly magically appear over there as though it has just come from. But that is the kind of things that you can do with server-side programming. You can just replace a portion of your information that is changing dynamically, right? Similarly, banks also use server-side programming to store the account informations and make authorized users to view and make transactions. So a lot of services like Facebook, Instagram, Wikipedia, all of these things which have a lot of dynamic content use this server-side programming or server-side JavaScript that needs to be done very, very quickly. So if you look at it, these are some of the things that you can do with your server-side JavaScript. So you can efficient storage and delivery of information. When we talk about efficiency of storage, what we are telling is you are not storing unnecessary information. You are only picking up the information that is required on that particular session or that particular page, and you show it to the user very, very quickly without having to refresh the entire page. So for example, now imagine that you have a lot of products that are available on Amazon, as I gave you another example, or for example, or even if you go on Facebook or something like that. For every information that is changing, if you have to create a separate static page for every product or post, then it will become extremely impractical because there are hundreds and not even hundreds, sorry, there are thousands and lakhs of products that are available on Amazon. There are so many profiles that are there on Facebook. So if for every new change that is requested by the user, if a new to be created by these people, it become extremely nightmarish for the developer. It would be very impractical. The entire website would be inefficient. It will become very slow for loading all of those things, right? So this is where if you notice Amazon or Facebook or any of these things, their page loads are extremely fast, and the reason they are able to do, they're using some technology like this, right? So which is running at the background, and and you see literally millions of if you search for any term on any of these websites or any of these web applications, you would find that it comes out very quickly, and then they're able to show you all those things in a very efficient manner. This is the reason why they are using these technologies. So a technology like Node.js or server-side JavaScript is extremely useful for people to learn in today's situation. So you can customize your user experience depending on whatever is the requirement. You can control access to the content very, very efficiently over here. You can store the session or state information extremely efficiently. Notifications and communication is an extremely important topic that you would need to understand, because the entire web stack or entire web community is now based on notifications. So all of you are using these mobile and web-based technologies for a long time, right? So I mean, every single one of you must be using Facebook. Every single one of you must be using Amazon or any of these things. if you look at the applications that these people have given you, notifications is something that is integral to these applications. So what are these notifications? Notifications are something that are pushed to you from the server side. And if you would have noticed, even when your application is not running, some of these notifications will come to you, right? So these are called push notifications. Of course, it all depends. There are settings for you to control this. If you don't want notifications for you to come, they give you an option in the settings for that to say turn off the notifications, or you show me notifications only when my is turned on. But the default functionality of these notification is that even when your application is not running, you will be able to push these notifications. Notifications are very important because it is important for the application to inform the user about some changes that are happening even when their application is not actually running on their screen. That is something, it's a very, very powerful feature that has come out both on the web as well as on the mobile. And it is something that has really changed the way people interact with applications. And then data analysis. Data analysis is a very, very vast subject by itself. But technologies like this allow you to collect data from the user without being interventionalist. You don't have to intervene every time to collect data like earlier. And now you can get a lot of data from the end users, and then you'll be able to store that information and meaningfully for analysis at a later stage. This is very, very critical for a lot of businesses. So this is another domain that is available as part of where I spoke about domain expertise as well as technology expertise, right? So this data analysis is another domain expertise that comes into the picture. So there are a lot of technologies that are available field. People who are going to work on data analysis are never going to run out of work, because data is something that's going to keep coming and somebody or the other has to analyze the data all the time. So this is like the food business, right? People have to eat all the time. There's no way in the world that food business is going to go out of is going to be irrelevant, right? Similarly, data analysis is never going to be irrelevant. People who are interested in data analysis is one domain that is going to be evergreen. So I think this is basically the topic that I was talking about. So people who are interested in server-side development or who want to understand what this server-side JavaScript is all about can just try to search further on the internet and figure out how these things are there. Of course, for the people who have joined the BCA Cloud and Mobile, they're going to learn this as one subject. So we'll look at that whenever we come to that. So I think I'm at the end of my presentation. So again, if any of you are having any questions, you can please ask me through the or ma'am, you can facilitate this. So I think I'm done with my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledgeable experience to our students. It is very helpful for our students, sir. Thank you. Thank you once again.
My pleasure, ma'am.
Now I request Dr. S. Tavamani ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of BCA, to deliver the vote of thanks.
A very good morning to one and all gathered here. I deem it a great honor to the vote of thanks for this 2-day School of Computing Student Induction Program 2021. On behalf of School of Computing, I extend heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries for gracing this occasion with their valuable presence. I feel delighted to express my gratitude to our SNR Sons Charitable Trust Managing Trustee Sri D. Lakshmi Narayana Swami for being a constant support and given us a lot of encouragement in all our college activities. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. B.L. Sivakumar, for all words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us, who always stand by us, guide us, lead us, and motivate us. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our two versatile resource persons, Ms. H. Seetal Soni, Country Channel Manager, Career Education, IBM Software Group, and Mr. Dwaraknath Sayur, Director, Cloud Rain Technologies, Chennai, who graced us with their thought-provoking chief guest address. Thank you, dignitaries. Next, I would like to thank all the deans for their support and encouragement of this event. Next, I would like to thank our HODs, Dr. G. Maria Priscilla, Head Department of Computer Science, Dr. N. Sumati, Head Department of Information Technology, Dr. D. Hariprasad, Head Department of Computer Applications, and Dr. V. Krishnapriya, Head Department of Computer Science with Cognitive Systems, for their constant support and efforts in conducting this 2 days Students Induction Program 2021 a grand success. Thank you all HODs. And I also extend my sincere thanks to School of Computing faculty members for their contribution and support in organizing this Student Induction Program 2021. A special thanks to all the first year students and their parents who actually made this event a memorable and successful one with their delightful presence. Finally, I thank the organizing committee members for their continuous efforts and support in making the 2 days Student Induction Program 2021 a grand success. Thank you all and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, students.